If you go into a 12-step meeting, any city, and you count 75 people and you ask how many of them are musicians, you're going to get 2. And everybody else is going to be from every walk of life that you can imagine. The same as Scott Weiland's mother crying. There are mothers crying who have lost their sons, who are construction workers, mechanics, literally anything you can think of, and it's happening every day. And the only difference between a musician that's famous and that other kid is that we don't talk about him on the radio.
Welcome to Outside Issues with Audrey and Patrick. Seems like you've been doing a little bit better, because you had some bipolar, tough stuff, I think a week or 2 ago.
They have been. I went on, I changed up some medication, and that seemed to really help. I was on this one, it's called an SNRI. SSRIs are like the typical antidepressants, like Zoloft, Prozac, what have you. And fun fact, those actually, if you take them and you're bipolar, that can cause a manic episode.
Oh, wow.
In hindsight, I've seen that I've had a manic episode when I've been on those. But I'm taking an SNRI, which is, I don't know the specific science behind it, but it's Wellbutrin.
I used to take that a long time ago.
Yeah. And so I'm at the highest possible dose now. And since I had so much fatigue, it's really helped. And I got a new anti-anxiety medication that I take daily. And that's really helped because my anxiety really contributes to my fatigue a lot.
If you had to take a roller coaster 10 times a day, you'd be kind of spent. It's almost like there's a computer and there's a background task running the whole time. And it just taxes your processor so that gee, why is my computer acting so slow?
Right. Yeah. It's brutal. It's brutal. But I just get through it. I take it as a learning experience, and I try to take it as a learning experience for those around me. Because I think bipolar is such a shameful thing that people hide, and they try to, hide it from others and say, oh, I just wasn't feeling good, or make up kind of an excuse, which obviously I do all the time because of the stigma. But with people that I'm able and comfortable to be honest with, I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm dealing with. This is the reality of this disorder. These kind of disorders and depression and anxiety, they all culminate sometimes in substance abuse.
Sunday, the 31st of August is International Overdose Awareness Day. And
Yes.
You brought this to my attention. What is your experience, your lived experience with overdoses and overdose deaths?
Oh boy. Well, going to rehab, and outpatient rehab nonetheless, there's multiple overdoses usually. I mean, fentanyl was just coming out, I feel like, when I got sober. And it was just kind of one of those things where you'd hear, or at a meeting, you'd hear, oh, so-and-so passed away. And I remember somebody in outpatient rehab saying, we have to step over the bodies. And that really disturbed me because we do, we have to. As much as we want to help and take care and focus all of our attention on somebody who's passed, and we can, our recovery is still the most important out of everybody's.
Which is a way of saying that if you're drowning, you can't help other people unless you yourself are stable enough to reach out.
Also, this wasn't quite technically an overdose death, but it was when I was in outpatient rehab, I was in there with Chester Bennington from Lincoln Park. And, he was a pillar of recovery. He was always there to do little service acts and set up the coffee and put the chairs up. And he was just an amazing human. And then when he died by suicide, I believe that he had been drinking during that time. everybody in our whole rehab just was in absolute shock and absolute grief. And so, yes, we have to keep living through the tragedy, and we need to make space for ourselves to figure it out and feel it ourselves.
When you mentioned fentanyl, like the kind of in the informal narrative of, opioid addiction for as long as we've been alive is there was like the big pharma boom, and Oxy, right? And there's, just this increasing amount of Americans, addicted to opiates. And so fentanyl is a synthetic opiate, and it's very cheap to manufacture and cheaper to buy. And it's also highly lethal. It's the loaded gun you put in the hand of somebody, who's prone to, self-harm. You have a loved one, right? Or like an ex-boyfriend that you lost, right, as a result of an overdose.
So, I actually told this story with my therapist the other day, so that's pretty cool. So my friend, or my ex-boyfriend's name was Adam. I met him at a PTSD inpatient treatment ward in Torrance. And he was kind of just this weird dude. Like, I don't know how to explain it. He was in the Navy, and that's where he had gotten the trauma from the Navy and some sexual abuse from the Navy. And so it was 2012, and as you can imagine, like, there wasn't much like help for men in the military to get help for sexual assault by an officer sexually assaulting them, let alone
Men or women. Yeah.
Exactly. So he was there for that. I was there for some sexual assaults that I experienced. And, we were in this outpatient program together, where before we had actually been inpatient, but we hadn't really interacted. But an outpatient, he was just this, like, I can't explain. It's just this funny guy. He would, South Park. I don't watch South Park, but like that guy that goes like, okay, okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. One of the teachers. I mean, yeah, I should be better about my South Park lore, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he would say that just all the time, like out of nowhere. And he was also like a very talented DJ making progressive house music. And so he would make music, make CDs, burn CDs, and give it to everybody in the treatment program. And listening to him and listening to his music did something to me. It like transported me into some sort of blissful reality. It's hard to explain. Like, I'll keep saying it. It's so hard to explain who this person was and how this person made me feel. And so the way that we got connected was it was drug related, but still, just to preface, a lot of folks in the recovery community, when I tell this story, will say, oh, that doesn't count because there was drugs involved. And I think that's bullshit. Yes, there were drugs involved with our relationship, but you can't drug up a soulmate connection.
You were told that the romance didn't count, or that, it wasn't genuine?
Yeah, that nothing was genuine. It was just, it's just a using buddy. Just a using buddy. And that's a fucked up thing to say.
Right. It's as if we cease to be human beings once we're under the influence, which clearly that's not true. You're loaded, but you're still a person, and people love.
One afternoon, my mother came in to do a therapy session with me, an individual therapy session with me, with my assigned therapist in the outpatient program. And, therapy with my mother is therapy with my mother. So I came out with quite a big frown on my face. And Adam looks at me and he goes, "You look sad." And I'm like, "I am sad." And he's like, "Do you like to party?" And I was like, what does that mean? And he opens his car, he had cargo pants on. So he opens like the pocket of his cargo pants, and there I see a gigantic bottle of Vicodin.
Jackpot. I mean, that would be, Christmas for me back in those days.
It was Christmas. I was like, holy shit, this is this is a miracle. Miracle on 34th Street. Seriously, this man is Santa Claus. And I don't know, the my memory is kind of blurry, but I do know that we took a couple and we snorted some in the bathroom at the hospital. We didn't get caught that time, but we did another time. Um, and it kind of just went on like that. We would go to lunch, we'd sit together at lunch, we would talk about our families, we would talk about our trauma, we would talk about how we thought each other was attractive. And I didn't know that he found me attractive. I was like, you think I'm attractive? He's like, don't you see me looking at you all the time? And I was like, okay, I guess so. And it was actually funny because it was during the time of the election in 2012. So it was Obama versus Romney. And
Yeah. Wow. That's a long time ago. Wow.
it's a long time ago. Yeah, it's a very long time ago. And I don't know if you remember, but 7-Eleven had cups, like Obama cups and Romney cups for coffee. And so I would come in with my Obama cup and he would come in with his Romney cup.
Was the Romney coffee decaf?
We lamented over that. And we didn't have any, he wasn't like a right winger. I don't know how to explain it. He said he was a Republican, but of course this was in 2012, Romney Republicans. Nothing like today. And so I think he's up there now and looking down at his former GOP and just probably shaking his head.
Yeah. They were a little more laid back in those days.
Right. Yeah. We didn't have as
It's a
much.
weird way to characterize them, but it's true.
Yeah, we didn't have as much to worry about. And then we ended up watching the debate together. One of the first, I don't know which one, but I distinctly remember that this day, the specific day that we spent the entire day together, it was October 11th, 2012. And so I always keep 10, 11, 12 in my head. I have it tattooed on me, actually, because it was the best day and the best night of my life, spending it with him. Yes, we did some drugs. Yes, we did a little bit of heroin. But we got my car washed in this little funky, I don't know if you've been to the El Segundo car wash, with all the like weird little statues.
No, but I'll have to go just in honor of those 3 days for you.
Yeah, yeah. So we did that. We were making out in the car wash. It was great. Yeah, we went to the beach and we just spent hours on the beach talking about who we were and like who we want to be. And his sense of humor was just so random. And the first joke he told me was pretty dirty. His last name was Popp, so Popp. I think it's Norwegian or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Sounds like, yeah, some Nordic candy.
Fun fact, actually, my college boyfriend, his last name was Papp, Papp.
You've got a type. What can I say?
I guess so. I guess so. So his first joke to me was, "Hey, want to blow pop?" I was like, "Oh my God. I don't know about that right now, sir, but oh."
Maybe rain check, but check back later. Let's see how we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, check. Let's check back later. And from the beach, we went to the Marriott and we spent this whole night together. That was romantic and talking about what we wanted to do in the future. And it wasn't like one of those one night stand things, like I've been saying. It was this awesome, deep connection that I've never felt with anybody else. And we both felt it at the same time. It's like we couldn't let each other go. When the day was over and we kind of just went back to our normal thing, but we knew that we had this soulmate connection. And I never used the word soulmate really, but he was my soulmate for sure. I think so, if anything. I don't know if you believe in soulmates, if that's a question.
Oh, I've had a lot of heartbreak, and I have a lot of fear about attaching that much significance to any one person. Um, I think I do maybe believe in it, but yeah, I'm just I've got the vault pretty well maintained, and we'll see. I mean the idea of love though, I mean absolutely,
In this sense, it was like I had no choice. Like the universe just was like, here you go, here's a soulmate for you. And I couldn't stop it. Like everything I interacted with this person was just a soulmate connection. Just every little look, every little word. It was beautiful. Then he moved to Milwaukee, which is where he's from. Because he was still struggling with opiate use. I was still struggling with it too, but not quite as bad as him. And so since he was in the Navy, he went to a VA rehabilitation program. And I remember this was before FaceTime existed. So we would take videos of each other and like send it to each other. So he would take videos of like, oh, here's my rehab room, and like here's my chip. Like, aren't you proud of me? And then like one time I was actually at a bar. I'm like, look, I'm drunk. Like that probably wasn't helpful, but we would do that every single day, just send videos back and forth, back and forth. And there was a plan for me to move to Milwaukee at some point, because I didn't have anything going on. I was just trying to survive still. And then his mom died, and I kind of didn't hear from him for a long time, until I ended up being with my ex-boyfriend who was abusive, who I've probably told you about.
Yeah, that's just horrible situation.
Yeah, he would not let me, and Adam called me one time suicidal when I was with this other man, and this other guy would not let me go outside to have a private conversation with Adam. And so I had to pretend like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Why don't you just like do it yourself or something? And he was so confused, and that just broke my heart. And he said, let me come and get you. Like, let me come and fly to you so we can go back to Wisconsin so we can spend Valentine's Day together or something. And I would want nothing, absolutely nothing more than that. But I was stuck in this danger zone. And I knew that if he had done that, somebody would have been killed. That's the severity of my abuser's anger and control. And so when I think about Adam and I grieve, that's the moment that I really do grieve, is that I could have gotten on that plane. I know I had to survive, but part of me, of course, is like, maybe I could have snuck away, and then maybe things would be different. I don't know. He could have been alive still. But I continued being under the control and microscope of this abusive man. And eventually got to the point where physical abuse started happening pretty badly. And so, I wasn't allowed to have social media, obviously, because I was under control. So one day I hid inside of the bathroom. I downloaded Facebook and I tried to find Adam's profile, because I was like, this is it. Like, I can't stay in here. I'm going to be killed. And I looked at his Facebook and it said, remembering Adam Popp. And I was like, what does that mean? And because I hadn't
Oh
been
my
on,
God.
yeah. And I didn't know what that meant, because I hadn't been on Facebook. And I looked and I saw his obituary. He had
Oh,
died 3 weeks before I checked that, of an overdose. So that is, and I remember, of course, I couldn't openly grieve in front of my abuser. I internally grieved. And I just remember going into like a restaurant or something and being so confused, like, how can the world exist without Adam in it? And it was just the most heartbreaking moment of my life. And I continue to miss him. I continue to honor him. I'm in a relationship now, obviously, but I still think that he's a soulmate of mine. He just got me. I got him. And I do believe in, you know, the afterlife, stuff like that. And I know that he's egging me on for my recovery and for my mental health.
he was trying to get treatment. He was trying to find recovery. From the moment you met him, you guys were like involved in different kinds of, therapy and just trying to find a way to live, right? And
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, when he died, he was a pre-med student because he went to college on a GI Bill. And so he decided to do pre-med because he was a genius. And he was doing well. He was sober. I looked through his social media. He was sober, and what I know what happened was he got some fentanyl, overdosed because he went back to he relapsed. So yeah, but he was always improving himself, always improving himself. And even if it was like he was having a hard time, it wouldn't last that long. He would still get back up and try again.
I wish that I could just give recovery to people that are on the edge like that and save them from, like a momentary lapse that could take them all the way out. And the thing that's agonizing about this whole dynamic is that you can't give it to somebody. There's a lot of luck involved. Um, and we can talk about like, harm reduction. Naloxone or Narcan are the same thing. I
Yes.
had a meeting. I mean, at meetings here in California, I'm sure in Washington as well, they'll just hand out the spray at or the inhalers at meetings so that you have them on hand in case somebody happens to be overdosing, and you can revive them and get the medical attention and stuff. These things save people's lives. Yeah.
We have tons of them in all of our office locations. We actually, in my last office location, um, we we were working next to a lab, and they would give out Narcan because there would sometimes be folks looking for needles, and so if they happen to find a needle, then they'd also have Narcan. So that was nice to see.
If you could just stay alive for long enough, that recovery becomes more and more possible, and it's always available. Like I don't know. I've been thinking like the best that we can do is try and keep people that may be relapsing frequently or people that may be ambivalent about getting sober, um, to try and like stay as close to them as you can, and that's not always easy, especially if like, you've got your own recovery to look after or, there's only so many hours in the day. But like, I don't know if I told you yet. So on Sunday, I went to a movie with a newcomer. I think he had like 0 or 1 days or something like that. And
Mhm.
his drug of choice is meth. And he was like a really scary guy. Like he got in the car and he didn't do anything to me or whatever, but he just had a real jittery kind of like, he just seemed like somebody who had been doing a lot of meth lately and, just kind of fried. But like we've been texting a little bit back and forth, and I invited him to Roundup this weekend. There's the AA Roundup that they're doing in
Oh,
Torrance.
that's this weekend? Oh, that's right, because it's Labor Day.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to be volunteering at that. And I invited him to come along, but like, you never know. I mean, like I have friends that have had multiple people die on them, including sponsees, and they And, they admittedly they get a little jaded. Like I'm a little bit haunted actually by like the way that they are when I ask them about it, or like when they tell me that somebody died. And there's like I can tell that they're a little desensitized to it. But what
I got
occurred, yeah,
I got desensitized too. I have an old sponsee who overdosed as well. Way after I had been in. I think she overdosed when I moved to Washington. But still, I was jaded. I was like, oh, there's another one, and yeah, it's
because it's a survival mechanism, right? Just the desensitization. Because if you're if you're sensitized to it and it keeps happening, you go out of your mind, right?
absolutely. It's a hard game to play to recover and then to watch others recover and be together. It's a hard thing.
I just know more about the power of socialization to, nudge people towards sobriety and recovery. That's what I know the most about, and that's the what I have the most firsthand experience seeing may have a positive effect in people's lives. I have a cousin who relapsed recently on like a family trip. He relapsed on alcohol. So the chances of his long-term survival are a little bit better than somebody, addicted to opiates. But dangerous, deadly, all the same. And like we all decided we really wanted him there, even though he was in his cups and he got off the plane drunk and he stayed drunk through the whole weekend. He was a part of the festivities, and I feel like you're gonna have a better shot at helping somebody. You know what I mean, by not ostracizing them completely. That's just my like shoot from the hip sense of it. Is that like and it can be a chore to really like deal with somebody who's like deep in their addiction, and it's not always like tenable, but like to the extent that you can, I feel like one way to help keep others from falling all the way into the slipstream is to maintain that social connection, as they struggle, and don't let them lose sight, of other people.
The way that I usually have handled it in like a group in a community, I'm kind of dubbed the community social worker, I guess, which makes sense. So I'm the one that would kind of be like, okay, here's a sober living, here's some resources, here's a meeting that we go to, like, here's my car, like, here's, kind of like laying out a plan for success for somebody who's a newcomer or someone who is relapsed. It doesn't really work all the time, but I think that there's a lot of folks who like to be there for somebody who's relapsed or is going through continued addiction and really focus on the sobriety part, focus on the AA part, which I do. I love going to meetings with people. I especially love seeing people or sponsees like speak for the first time. That's such a rush, isn't it?
I've never seen Apollo speak. He's my like the one sponsee I have that I have the most contact with. There's another one I have in the UK who I talk to like once a month. Yeah, and then what you talked about in regards to like harm reduction, like and especially when we're talking about opiates, to extend a person's life as long as possible, and that can be Suboxone maintenance, right? I mean, you've talked about there's marijuana maintenance. I My recovery is abstinence based, but like I don't know. I just feel like a bedrock for me is you know preserve life, extend life. For as long as there's life, there's hope, and time for people to find something that of a sustainable, like a long term solution.
Going back to my diagnosis of bipolar, I didn't know that like some of the drugs that I needed to be stable on were narcotics because I need to be on benzodiazepines in order to feel okay. And it's kind of it's discouraging sometimes. I don't like to share that in meetings, obviously, because first of all, I don't want to trigger anybody, and then second of all, I've heard a lot of like, well, you're not sober if you're taking that. It's like, okay, do you want to see me go manic and end up in the hospital? I don't I don't think so.
No, I think you have it exactly right. It's to not share it, right? Just that you're conscious of the the other people that are trying to get well around you, and also it's not their fucking business, and you're gonna do recovery in the way that is most functional and helpful for yourself, and that's what it's all about, really. It's
Right. Right.
you're
And
doing
that's
both. You're
something
looking after other people, but you're really there for number one. So yeah.
I wish it wasn't that way, but it is, and it is what it is. I just trust my doctors.
I can't take benzos. Like that would not work for my program. But
Mm.
it's absolutely working for yours, right? And why should the way that you choose to do your recovery impinge at all on the way I choose to do mine? You know what I mean? We're all uh, headed for the same destination here. You know what I mean? How we get there is kind of like
Right.
our personal choice.
I know we're a little running out of time a little bit, but do you have any stories about somebody special who overdosed?
I have a friend named Orion, and he went to Maricosta High School. He was in my graduating class. The kid that never wanted to go home after the partying was done. Like and I don't think that he had like a particularly abusive or traumatic, home life. It was
Yeah.
just that like, he just loved to like be around people, and like he was absolutely like a social drug addict. And he loved Lou Reed. We were all listening to a lot of Lou Reed back then, and I didn't get into heroin or opiates as much in those days, but my friends
Yeah.
all did. And we would go out and do karaoke, and Orion would we also really liked Prince. We were listening to a lot of Prince, and I remember there was a great like karaoke night where my friend Phil and my friend Orion were like singing Prince songs and Little Red Corvette, and then getting like so into like the moves, and just really trying for that like slinky rock god kind of thing. And it was just
Yeah.
so funny because like neither guy looked like Prince, but it
Right.
was
Rest in
um
peace too for Prince.
what's up? Oh
Rest
God, that
in
just
Prince.
occurred to me.
Yeah. From the
Yeah,
same illness.
absolutely. I mean, what a heartbreak. And I mean, like, just a brief side note, like, Prince had a lot of shame clearly about his own addiction, and
Yeah.
he kept it secret. I mean, of course, I'm sure there were people like in his absolute inner circle that were aware because that's how that works. But like, I feel like apparently when he died and they were going through his personal effects, there was pamphlets, from like recovery meetings and things like that, and like he was trying to get a handle on it and just wasn't able to. And I feel like if there was less stigma surrounding it, maybe, there's a way he could have addressed that and, found recovery and lived a little bit longer, you know what I mean? Because what a loss. But yeah, Orion overdosed, and the way that many do, which is that he had some clean and sober time, and then he went back out. Did you circle back later, and like make any contact with Adam's family or friends, or like do any kind of like detective work about what happened to him, and like what was that? I mean, I'm sure like I don't know. Just tell me about like how you grieved, or like how you were able to kind of finish your grieving later on.
Oh boy. Well, it was impossible to get a hold of Adam's family. No, none of them knew me. And I tried on Facebook, and nobody's on Facebook. So that was impossible for me to get in touch with anybody. I know their names. Yeah, it was impossible for me to get in touch with anybody. So I'm kind of just on my own. But my grieving process is I let myself cry and miss him. And sometimes if I'm in a bad situation or a confusing situation, I cry. I'm like, please help me. What would I do? If only he were here, he would know what to do. I'll just laugh at his humor and his music. I'll listen to his music all the time. and I honor him. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I heard a quote: people can die twice, the first time when they pass away, and then the second time when their story stops being told. For some reason, I feel like I'm kind of the only person that keeps Adam's story going, and I'll continue to. It's almost been 10 years now, and I still feel the same.